Welcome to the World Wide Web. Hope y'all are having a great and fantastic day. This is the From the W podcast. Welcome on in. Hope you guys are having a great day. I already said that, but I really hope you're having a great day. There we go. This is episode 3. Here's a question. What is your favorite video game? I put just game in the title, but it's video game. What's your favorite video game? That's a big question. Big question. What's your favorite video game? Let us know. We're going to get this thing rolling. Too many buttons to push. Too many buttons to push. Welcome in, Chris. How you doing? And XtianNinja, how you doing? Welcome to the stream,
Yo,
guys.
good, man.
What's up, man?
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here as well. Hey, I got a new camera.
And it's very blue.
Very blue. Because it's... Oh, because the lights are blue.
Everything's blue, man.
It's blue. I'm blue. I forgot to turn.
Legally required that you sing that song after saying the word blue.
It's true. It's true.
We don't even have a choice.
Imagine if they had to sing it in Jurassic World. Because they had that velociraptor named Blue.
They'd have to pay.
Ching, that one.
Actually, there's a really good YouTube video on the making of that song. Of the making of, and it's actually really interesting. Yeah, because it was like the 20th anniversary of the making of that song, and they were talking about how, like, to this very day, people are getting the lyrics wrong and calling him like, what is it, what is it supposed to be, et cetera, and why they came up with that and how many people worked on it. It's really good. It's worth a watch.
I've never seen it. I don't know that I've ever actually. There's a music video for it, right? I've never watched the music video.
If I remember, it's animated.
I don't think so. Is it? Does it have a little frog? Like a little frog-looking guy? Have I seen it before?
That might be like the remake YouTube, YouTube poop version. But
I see.
Yeah.
That you're watching the Muppets.
I don't even have my lights in the background on. There, I'll make those blue too. How's that sound? We'll make them yellow for some offsetting. There we go. All I had to do is push a button.
Then they will be green. See? Yellow, blue, and green.
Hello. Wait, what? Anyway. Welcome in, XtianNinja. How you doing, man?
I'll tell you what, man. I don't know. Do you want an honest answer? Or you want the standard answer? Like, what are we supposed to do here?
As
how
adults,
fast
we
and how
always
serious
say,
are going?
yeah, right. We always say, well, I'm doing good. Hey, that's great, and then nothing ever happens. Yeah,
you know what?
That's
you know what
fun.
they say. Fine is just feelings I'm not expressing.
Feelings I'm not expressing. F-I-N-E.
Feelings I'm not expressing. F-I-N-E. You know what I'm saying? And I don't want to be that guy. I hate answering the question, how you doing, with a fake answer. So my answer today is better than I deserve and tired. I used to, whenever I was asked, ask these old men, how you doing? And I'd always get, like, for my entire life, that I'd get the answer better than I deserve, which usually means, you know what, little boy, I've got so much crap happening in my life right now that if I explained it to you, your head would explode. But I don't want to get into it right now. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to tell you everything's fine, because as you're growing up, you're going to find out that not everything's fine all the time. However, God's grace is still there, and God's grace is good. So I'm going to be taking that. So, my child, better than I deserve.
Yeah, there you go. Better than we deserve, and that's so true, right?
It's never a wrong answer.
I have the wrong. Hold on. I have the wrong sandwich.
I don't want to diagnose without knowing the guy, but there's a lot of ADD vibes coming from the ZachLee camera tonight.
I think to have ADD, I think you have to have some focus to start.
There needs to be some A.
No A. He's just got DD.
What happened? I missed it.
You have deficient disorder.
Yeah.
No attention. Just deficient
Your thought
disorder.
process is like trying to nail Jello to a wall.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. We'll go with that. I pictured like actually trying to nail Jello to the wall. Some people make Jello that could stick to a wall.
The firm stuff, I know.
Yeah.
I have mixed feelings about how firm Jello can be before it becomes a
So
square.
yeah. So I can be coherent at times.
I've experienced. I look forward to experiencing that sometime.
No, listen. I looked in my bag and I had a what is it? The quarter pounder. Okay, I got a quarter pounder, and it's in a wrapper. Those come in a box, but it was in a wrapper, and I was like, "That's weird." I hadn't got to it yet. My wife walks in and goes, "Can I have your son's burger, please?" Because he had just a plain burger. Oh, that's why I was confused. So anyway, so moving on.
I'm old enough to remember when they made the switch from styrofoam. And I remember it took like 29 iterations of different things to put the burger in. So it was like we went from styrofoam, and then they tried doing a sort of a I don't know, like a circle of cardboard that goes around the burger, and then they tried to wrap it and stuff, and then they tried just doing a cardboard shell and whatnot, and then they were everything was like waffle connect, like it was all there was like 29 different things that they were experimenting with. At least in my town they were, until they settled on wrap it in paper.
Yeah, like why? Why though? Why so many? What happens that there's so many?
It's a combination of experience and cost. So one of the things that a lot of the food brands will do is they run through what type of experience does the container give. There are people who are very specific about, like, if I'm going to get a burger in a drive-through in a fast food restaurant, I want to be able to eat it, so it has to be sleeved of some sort. Right?
Don't order a Big Mac then. Cheapers.
Right? And then there's the flip side of, what's the cost? Is it cheap?
Yeah, for sure.
I'm sure you're going to see over the next probably year, and they're already McDonald's doing it, Burger King doing it, where they're starting to cut out some of the cardboard and stuff because paper costs have gotten ridiculous.
Yeah.
Hey, do you want to see how they usually on a quarter pounder they will put the little like slip on it, the slip of paper that says, "Hey, this is the one that gets bacon." They just wrote it on this time.
Oh, dude. That's like ghetto McDonald's. Where were you?
That's hometown.
Did you hold up the McDonald's like with a gun?
Bacon.
Give me the bacon. Give me the bacon. I want the paper. We don't have the paper, sir. I have to get the computer to do it. You have to pay for it. No, I'm sorry. You give me the bacon. I'll write it on the box then.
It's in red Sharpie.
I know it's in red. It's like usually they take the time, put the little receipt on there, but I think you're right though. They're gonna start cutting corners like crazy.
Where are you gonna go? You can't use plastic. You can't use paper. Where are you gonna go?
Well, it can be supply chain. So, like, it can be supply chain. But you see what Starbucks is doing. I mean, Starbucks.
They're just gonna hand it out the window with a glove, the whole burger, just the burger, no wrapping on it.
Starbucks wants to get rid of cups by 2024, 25.
Yep. Make everybody bring their own cups.
All usable.
Yep. Make everybody bring their own cups.
Well, then what they need to do is take off more than 10 cents for every time you bring your cup in. If your coffee, yeah, no. If your coffee is gonna, but if you're but that's what to get people to do that though, because they already will give you, is it 10 cents off or 10? I think it's 10 cents off your drink if you bring in your own cup. Well, that's great, but that's 10 cents.
I think
to worry about my own cup.
To some extent, they'll take off more than that, and I think the way that'll happen is they'll slow down their increase of pricing. So, for example, for us, the cost of coffee is almost doubled from a year and a half ago, and for the paper, we've seen paper climb 250%. So the cups that we're putting that coffee in are 250% up. So Starbucks, 2 years ago, roughly, probably 6 months into COVID, they said, okay, we're going to start making our own syrups. All right, we're having a hard time with supply chain. We're having a hard time with cost. We're going to get our own syrups. And they've moved through that process. And I think a lot of brands have done the same thing of like, how do we cut out middlemen? Because otherwise we're going to have $12 coffee.
Are they still making it all in Indonesia and China and all the rest of that stuff? Or are they actually trying to do it, domestic?
I think it's all still being done in Asia. Like there's syrups. I think it's called Fountain. Oh man, what's it called? But they have their own syrup line, and some of it's made in South and Central America, and the rest of it's made in Asia.
Hmm.
And the reason what's made in Central and South America is made where it's at is because it's mocha bases or chocolate bases. Makes sense.
Yep. Now, is it going to be the same? No, when they got rid of, or they're trying to get rid of plastic bags, right, in the grocery stores, and they got rid of those things and replaced it with plastic heavy duty bags. And the argument from, ecologists was basically like, well, you just took the very thin plastic bag, which will actually break down. You replace it with a very thick plastic bag, which will never break down in a zillion years. And there's just as many, and people have them, and it makes no sense because you didn't actually help anybody. Now, is it going to be the same thing where we have that, but except for with basically plastic thermal mugs instead of, or we're going to have some kind of, because nobody's going to go ceramic.
Eventually, yeah, will eventually everybody have these plastic cups, and eventually at some point that goes to how cheap can you get a plastic cup because you kind of don't care about it, and at what point do those start just getting...
And those become disposable.
Yeah. Those become disposable, yeah. I mean, I don't know how long that happens, but...
Your bet is they don't throw it away. When you look at the numbers on the reusable bags, and California's done tons of surveys on this, is no one throws them away. So plastic bags get trashed so easily, whereas people, have a couple dozen of the reusable bags sitting in the closet.
I got like 700 in my car. Yeah.
Yeah. So they don't end up in the waste. But when you look
not yet.
If fast food truly wants to do it, then it has to be a collective. So Starbucks needs to get with, say, Burger King, and they need to team up with Chipotle and say, hey, this cup's good for all 3 locations. Right.
Yeah,
so that way once you have that diversity, now you might win.
Have you seen Demolition Man? The show with Sylvester Stallone? Look who I'm asking. The guy who has
Demolition Man.
Okay. So anyway, in Demolition Man, which is there's a guy, he's a cop, and he gets frozen and sent to the future. And his enemy gets frozen and sent to the future too. But when he gets to the future, it's the future, like essentially like not that far off from where we would be. And one of the lines is all restaurants are Taco Bell, because basically it was Taco Bell won the fast food wars. Now everything's Taco Bell. And when you just said that, I immediately thought, as soon as they start, connecting together and you can use all these things and everything comes together, they may as well all just become Taco Bell at that point. Like all restaurants are now Starbucks.
Well, you already partly see that with the different chains that have Pepsi or Coke in them. Those are already working together in a sense, and so.
And both are owned by the Illuminati, so it really doesn't. I mean,
there you go. And at what point? Yeah, and at what point are you gonna have coffee served everywhere? Because I would do that.
Or nowhere. That's the other thing. Once chocolate and coffee just is gone because it's too expensive.
So we've gone to hell at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
that's what you're saying.
Well,
everything falls apart.
There's billions of dollars being spent on producing coffee in the U.S. So I think they'll try to overcome some of that with manufacturing it here. Florida's now doing it. California's doing it. Hawaii's been doing it for over a decade.
But what are they taking over? Because like in Canada, we had, vast fields of wheat, and then it became vast fields of corn, and then it became vast fields of soy, right? And now we have food shortages because nobody's eaten any of it. They're all being sent off to be turned into fuel or plastic or something. So at what point, like, what are they taking over? Like now they got coffee fields. Does that mean almonds are going to be $1 billion? Does that mean that they're getting rid of orange fields? Are they taking over? Like, what are they taking over? It's got to come at a cost somewhere.
I mean, you look at weed here, marijuana here has done the same thing.
Yeah.
All from California, Oregon, a lot of the old cornfields, wheat fields, even grape has been taken over by marijuana plants.
Cash crops. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. That's interesting. I never thought of that before.
Weed? I bet you have.
I've thought.
You just strike me as that kind of guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was before I was a Christian, so it doesn't count.
A guy bathed in blue light with red eyes that gets McDonald's cravings every now and again and has to go and get them because he needs them. Yeah, no, I don't think you've ever heard of weed.
And has really poor attention.
Exactly.
Instead of here eating my McDonald's.
Paranoid. You gotta look more paranoid. Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing, Zach. If there was a puff of smoke around you, maybe your attention span would be a little more on point.
Just bring it in. Yeah, that's right. Just bring it in a little.
We would have started 30 minutes ago.
Medicinal. Huh. Oh yeah, there are those KFC Taco Bell restaurants.
Mm-hmm. KFC Taco Bell, Wendy's.
Is there a Wendy's in those?
And you can go KFC Taco Bell, Wendy's, Tim Hortons.
And you've got a Taco Bell, Pizza Hut.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of the young brands.
Taco Bell is going to take over for real.
Taco Bell?
It's going to be Taco Bell.
Mm-hmm.
That would be my choice. Yeah.
Have you had? Do y'all have Habit Burger or Wing Street near you there?
Never heard of it. Mm.
So
Wing Street. That's Pizza Hut, right?
Wing Street is a wing version of Pizza Hut, and
yeah.
Habit Burger is a nicer, kind of sit down, more kind of casual burger place.
And we had a Wing Street. No, we had a Wing Street like a quarter mile from our house, where we lived like a year ago, and then they.
You're like separate, like it's its own thing.
No, it's inside Pizza Hut.
Yeah,
is it Pizza Hut or is it East Chicago? Isn't it East Chicago? Wing Street, isn't that East Chicago? No, what is East Chicago have?
Chris is gone. He's. I'm sorry. I'm researching now.
I'm trying to follow Zach, and I was just.
Here's the thing about a podcast, Chris. If you don't keep talking, people don't have anything to listen to.
I felt like Zach was talking plenty. He's just throwing out random words. I couldn't keep up.
It's just gibberish.
Chicago, Boston, Wing Street. Where's that? Chicago, not Chicago, Wing Street. Chicago.
I guess that's true. You're right. There was no silence. There was just gibberish. Okay.
I was like, I'm not quite sure what the question is.
I don't think there was a question. Just rambled.
Just singing that "I've Been Everywhere" Man song, just silently to his head with only two cities.
Okay, what'd you find out? Is it Pizza Hut or Eastern Chicago? Because I'm confused.
The people need to know.
They do.
All right. So what's your question? Wing Street is part of Pizza Hut. That's
Pizza Hut. It is Pizza Hut. Yeah.
That's what I said earlier. Taco Bell owns Pizza Hut, and Wing Street's a part of Pizza Hut.
Cool.
Yep. There are standalone wing stops or wing streets. Sorry,
I didn't know that. That's kind of interesting. Like when I went to Cleveland, I got introduced to Buffalo Wild Wings, BW3s.
Oh yeah. Yep.
And that was good. On the wall, of course, there was the insane suicide wing challenge. You got to eat 3 of them and whatnot. And I remember hearing a story from my friend who went to a wing place like that, and they had a challenge. And it was funny because he said, "Okay, I'll do it. But he kind of peer pressured him into it, right? It's like they bring out the wings, and he said, "I knew I was in trouble when everybody from the back area started coming out, and all the waiters and all the kitchen staff were like, I wonder what's going to go happen over there." And he's like, "Oh, I'm in serious jeopardy." Yep, and he didn't make it.
I've always wanted to try something like that, but I've never had like the guts to do it.
You got to do the Homer Simpson and like wax your whole throat area and just like stick them in like a bird.
You got to go to Texas and do the 72-ounce steak challenge.
Bro, no kidding.
72-ounce steak. I'm pretty sure that's just the whole calf.
It's just they just grind. Yeah,
it's not even a cut steak. It's just like the whole quarter brought down, set down. Yeah.
It's like one of those Mongolian restaurants where they just put the whole octopus in front of you.
Yeah. That grosses me out, man.
Really?
Yeah. Octopus?
Well, because don't they like sprinkle salt or something on it and it's supposed to like make it like move too? Like isn't that a thing?
Well, yeah, but you can also get them still alive.
Oh no, thank you. I had a hard time with a dead one when I went deep sea fishing.
Do you?
I couldn't. It was gross. I can, but I would, but I can't. Health reasons. I can't.
Okay.
So I can't eat raw fish, so that's all.
Yeah.
But I would. I've eaten it before, and then like later I was like, oh, I probably shouldn't have ate that. So I emailed my doctor. She's like, yeah, you're not supposed to eat that. But we'll see what happens. I guess we'll see.
You probably shouldn't eat a live octopus if you shouldn't eat raw fish.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm on like the whole like pregnant lady, like pregnant woman diet. It's like I'm not even supposed to eat deli sandwiches really, but I do. So I'm not supposed to eat.
What's wrong with you again?
I had a kidney transplant a few years ago.
Okay.
Pregnant.
I was gonna say, like that sounds like you have more problems than
I'm a birthing person.
You're a birth yeah.
Sorry,
or your doctor's messing with you bad.
Yeah, right?
They're making fun of you in the back room. What else can we get him to stop doing? Tell him he has to walk on only one foot. He has to hop everywhere because medically he has to.
Tell him he has to pay attention to everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
You convinced this guy's been pregnant for 2 years. It just takes men longer.
Yeah, I mean, we do it right, man. We'll get around to it. We'll get around to birthing it eventually.
Zach's
it's on the list.
Zach's kid's gonna come out with a backpack.
Don't rush me.
First grade.
He's got a camera with photos. And around them mountains over there. Well, that got off topic really quickly. To be fair, I don't know there was a topic. Yeah, really.
Well, you wanted a freewheeling podcast.
That's true.
You get what you deserve.
I deserve this? Is that what you're saying?
You started it.
That's a good point. All right, so what is your favorite video game? I'm gonna ask you guys this question. What's your favorite video game? Or like maybe set of video games. So like if it's like Call of Duty, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's controller, maybe.
What are we holding in your hand here? It's about this big giant potato? Like what are we doing here?
This is the game. Yeah, this is the game I'm talking about.
That's how you just grab it?
Yeah. Just grab it, tell us about it. Show and tell.
Okay. All right. Do you want to go first there, Chris?
All right.
You strike me as a man who plays a lot of video games.
Actually, I don't play any, but
I know.
I play Fortnite and Madden, and that's literally it. But now here's the answer to the question. So there's one game, if you're old enough to remember the 80s to the 90s, that innovated games for the next, probably up to now for the next 30 years. And that's duck hunting.
Duck hunt.
It's the first game that was interactive. There's somehow magically through telepathy, it went from the gun to the screen.
Yeah.
Amazing. Truly.
It's incredible. And if it hadn't been for that, we would not exist.
Period.
That's where they got the they said they had been working on Wii since the origin.
Oh, I thought you meant humanity. Humanity would cease to exist. Like, we would not exist. Humanity is over. And I'm like, I agree with that 100%. No duck hunt, no reason to live.
I was a little confused too, but I just let it keep going because I was like, he'll get to his point here. I don't know, but let's see.
Yeah, so we the game system and we the people.
There we go.
We the people. There you go. Yeah. Let's clarify.
So yeah. Duck hunting.
Duck hunt. All right. That's a good it's a solid game.
Duck hunt. I'll be honest. I don't know either how they got that gun to the screen. Like, how did that work?
Do you want to know?
Yeah. How?
When you pulled the trigger, it flashed a white on black screen. So wherever the thing was pointed, the little ray, all it saw was either a white box or black, right? So it didn't have to like figure out where the duck was. It just kind of flashed to see whether or not it was going to pick up white or black.
So it didn't matter where the duck was.
No, it did. It did because the box moved depending on where the duck was. It just, you didn't see it until you pulled the trigger. So if you go watch old duck hunt things, as soon as you see it, it'll be flick, flick, flick. It's just there for a sec. Yeah. Ingenious. It's ingenious.
But it was the first of its kind.
Still confused. I'm gonna have to.
Nintendo has done that always. Like, I inherited a 3D Game Boy, the one that was red that you stuck your head in and whatever, and it just kind of died. But it was like one of those experiments that they kind of put out there to see what would happen in the market. And
was it the Virtual Boy or whatever?
Yeah, the Virtual Boy. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I inherited one, and I thought it was the coolest thing ever, man.
Do you still have it?
No.
Oh, bro, those are worth a lot now if you still had it.
I bet they are. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, if I had half the crap I had when I was a kid, I wouldn't need to work anymore.
Yeah, right. Well, see, I would still need to work because I'm not one to sell that kind of stuff. I have loads of stuff that I will probably never play again, and I'm just like, my wife will tell me, sell it. And I'm like, but it's valuable. She's like, exactly, sell it. I'm like, but I have it. It's mine. Like, I get what she's saying. Sell it. You're never going to play it. But at the same time, if I sell it, I don't have it now.
That is true. Solid logic.
Yeah. So, I get it, but it's all like, same with like sports cards, right? You pull an expensive one out of a pack, sell it. But then I don't have it anymore. Then it's not mine.
Oh, see, I'm the opposite.
I'll sell it?
Yep. If I think that's the piece, it's like stock to me. If you have something somebody wants and you don't need it, sell it. Now, if you need it, it might be different. Go sell your house, but everything's got a peak. I mean,
I don't need McDonald's
if you're in the right spot, but.
My wife says preach in chat. She's like, yeah, get rid of your junk.
Yeah.
It also takes a couple minutes to sell it. So
you go to eBay and you put what you think is an astronomical price. If it goes, it goes. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
And then I can tell my wife I tried to sell it.
But you got to be prepared to sell it. So
yeah, that's true. If somebody's willing to pay for it.
I had an autographed New Orleans Saints helmet and put it up on eBay for $1,500. I was like, if I can go, maybe $500. Somebody bought it for $1,500. As far as I'm concerned, it was 5 times more than I expected. Willing to depart with it.
Wow.
There are people out there with too much money, man, and they can't wait to get rid of it.
Yes.
That's why art exists.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And then now NFTs.
This whole NFT thing.
Oh, dude, don't even get me started. NFTs, it makes me angry even to process, because the idea of selling a digital file that can be copied, but saying actually it's mine, but not actually owning it, not actually having it, not to be able to possess it, but somewhere on a blockchain somewhere in digital space, you have some kind of receipt somewhere. You're paying for a digital receipt, you moron.
Because like a painting,
how
you
is it
own the
money?
painting?
It's money laundering. Everybody knows it's money laundering. It's money laundering. We all know that, right?
But do you own the painting if the painting's been remade and resold a million times?
If you own the original, right?
What does it matter? It all looks the same. When you think about it, art and NFTs are no different. The only difference is that we want to tangibly touch something. But at the end of the day, everything's knocked off of something else.
I mean, I'm okay with a recreation of Van Gogh and hanging it in my kitchen. That's fine. I'm not about to buy a real Van Gogh. But like, if you own the real Van Gogh, you own the real Van Gogh, right? So that's like,
it depends on if you're talking
about that's why it's different than an NFT.
If you're talking about inherent value, or if you're talking about value to the person, right? So like inherent value has to do with what the actual thing is worth. You can actually do with it, what it within itself can either do or provide, right? Whereas value to the person is what, how emotionally connected to you, how special is it to you? Is it more special to someone else who's going to pay double for it, right? It depends on what you're talking about. So like, to me, if you put a Van Gogh worth $17 million right next to the poster worth $7.99, I have no more emotional attachment to the painting than I do to the poster. I don't. But surely somebody out there who is smarter than me, or at least more in tune with art than me, would find such inherent value in the Van Gogh that to them it is valuable.
But that is exactly why NFTs exist and are thriving, is because of exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
99% of people would go and get the $7.99 Van Gogh.
Is it though?
you've only got that 1% that either that has enough money to buy it or has enough desire to have it. So when you think about it, when you think about Thomas Kincaids,
mm-hmm.
Thomas Kincaids are some of the most mass-produced artwork in the world.
Mm-hmm.
People want to have a knockoff Thomas. I guess not a knockoff, but a cheap version of Thomas Kincade. And when you consider that, it's not much more. It's not much different than the NFTs. People just want to say they have a piece of it. The difference is that the younger generation is now more invested in a digital world than a physical world. But at the end of the day, it's still a knockoff of some sort.
You just say, "Shut up, old man." It's not your generation doing this.
I'm pretty sure you and I are the same age.
That's
man.
what I heard, man. Maybe. I mean, maybe, but I still, and I know it sounds like old fart talk of this idea of the difference between something you can hold in your hand and something that is digital. But at the same time, the quality of the thing you're reproducing is exactly the same. It is literally a digital copy. It's same ones and zeros. You're not getting something more special. You're not getting something that is a knockoff. You're not getting something that was hand touched by the actual artist himself that actually put this thing together. And you can say 547 years ago, there he was standing there and there was either the Mona Lisa or there was whoever, and he actually was there. This is, this has attachment to the past. This is something meaningful, as opposed to this art that a dude in Burbank burped out in 10 minutes on the toilet on his phone, and someone online likes it and goes, "That's cool. I'll buy that for $150,000 just so I can own it," and then copy that file, exactly the same file, same metadata, same everything, to 5 billion people in the world. That's not the same thing.
True. What? Here's my question though. What? Yeah, right. No.
Chris,
what?
It's mass production. I still think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm with you. I would never buy an NFT personally.
Right, and I want to know why they're so expensive.
So the argument's not the argument's not necessarily about whether or not what the value is versus real art. The argument comes down to digital versus real world. There's a heavier investment in the digital world than ever. And people want to spend less time in the real world and more time in the digital world.
That's true.
The same reason Christian ministries are thriving online and churches are still dying.
But there's also a move from ownership of thing to experiential purchases. There's a big difference now that, like, people are moving away from I want to own the thing to I want to do the thing, right? And so if the next generation is doing the thing, then why are they spending so much money owning the pretend thing? That doesn't make sense to me. That's why it sounds like a racket. If you said this, the person playing Fortnite gets this gun, it's worth $150,000, but he's the only one that gets to play with that gun in the game, I'd be like, okay, I understand. I get it. It's special. It's unique. It's an experience. It's something that they get. It's stupid expensive, but fine. That makes sense. But if everybody in the game is playing with this exact same gun, but that guy gets to say, actually, technically, I own the file that's based off of the polygons where I paid for that organization $150,000, but you can all play with it. That makes it less experiential, less special, because everybody has it.
And so you're saying that the NFT can be reproduced so that everybody actually has it.
Exactly the same thing.
But the purchasing and owning of it is the experience. There is a serotonin high there's a dopamine that comes in and pumps through your system when you purchase that NFT. And when you purchase the next one, and when it increases in value, and when you see that people want to purchase it for $250,000, it is stock market meets
hockey
digital
cards.
World. Yeah, I mean, and it just meets the young adult where they're at, and I think that's the beauty or danger of it, is that at the end of the day, it's a stock market feel with a stock market high that has a lower barrier of entry than stock, and not just in cost, but in knowledge as well.
Mm-hmm. I guess it makes sense to me if I wrap my head around it with the idea of hockey cards. right? Because hockey cards are a mass-produced item that everybody has. There are a lot of Gretzky rookie cards produced. Like it's not like there was only 2, right? But now there's only so many out there. But at the same time, only a few people actually care, right? It's not like the globe wants a hockey Wayne Gretzky rookie card. If you walk around most people, you're going to get 6.9 billion people that are going to say, "Who's that?" Right? Yeah. And the other, 900 million are going to be like, "I don't care." And you're going to be down to about 10,000 people that really could care about buying that thing and sticking it on a shelf and having it. That's a very minor amount of people. So maybe NFTs are getting all this press and excitement over like a few people that are really excited about it.
Yeah, and
a whole bunch of people get excited about a Wayne Gretzky NFT though.
Well, yeah.
I know Gary Vaynerchuk, he's big on NFTs right now, and he mentioned the same thing. He said it's not that NFTs will take over and be the norm, but it's that it's a separate kind of market in a way, and that there's certain people that will be drawn to them. And so to those people, like the hockey cards thing, like the Wayne Gretzky rookie card, like who's actually going to be interested in it, that's where the value is. So is it the people that are interested in it? Because somebody asked him and say he's been trading cards in general. Yeah,
NFT trading cards are growing now. I mean, those are a big commodity right now. Like every sport's trying to get into NFTs.
So, like that's an interesting thing because years ago I actually had this thing. I want to say it was by Topps. It was an app on my phone where you could buy digital cards with real money. You did certain things like in games and stuff, and you earned some tokens or whatever. But like, it was easy to spend like $20 and get some, open digital cards.
Hold on, your wife is listening. Just so
I
know.
We weren't married at the time.
Now before you go in too hard.
Yeah, I'm still doing this to this day. I've been doing it for the last.
That's why I have my old phone. It's got all the files on it.
But there's no clutter. There's no clutter.
Well, right, because I've spent my money and I don't know what the value of that is now. I mean,
could you retrieve them?
Probably if I could find my password and stuff.
Interesting. That'd be an interesting experiment to see whether or not your early shot NFT, which didn't have that name yet, would actually be worth something.
Or if they've even transferred them into some sort of NFT.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because Topps has an entire NFT program.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Now, are any of the cards that I've collected on Steam worth anything? Every now and again, I get told I have trading card on Steam, and the Steam makes a big deal out of it. They tell me all about it. I get a little alert. I get all excited. I don't know what it's for. I keep it in a pile. Can I sell it for $10,000, $12,000? Is that possible?
If somebody will buy it for that,
I guess so. Do I have to send them my computer? How does this work?
Yeah, right. See, that's my thing. When people put
a price on it off and just put it in the mail.
See, I own it. I own it.
Screenshot it. Send on the screenshots.
Yeah, screenshot it.
Yes,
there you go.
Sell
Boom,
the
done.
screenshots. There you go. Yeah, there you go.
Yep.
So funny story. So there's an auction a couple weeks ago. Beautiful condo townhouses in Florida on the beach, and it's in an auction. And this guy goes to bid on it. He's bidding on it. And these guys are going at it, and he spends $250,000 to get this piece of land. He gets there, he signs it, he pays for it. They take him out there, and what he got was a strip of grass between the two homes that the mailbox sat on.
Dude.
All he got was a strip of grass.
Dude. Well, that reminds me that what was that concert or venue or whatever? Remember like 3-4 years ago, the fire concert or whatever they were doing, and where like he hyped it to the absolute max that hype could ever be hyped, and then people were showing up and there just wasn't one. Like it just wasn't one, and he got in so much trouble.
I mean, there's the pictures of couches that got sold on eBay.
Yeah,
I mean that still to some extent happens, but I mean there's people selling boxes of toys and stuff, and it says in small print, toy is not included.
Yeah,
people are dropping big money on it.
Yep. Read people.
Or it's like you buy a rug. It's a picture of a rug, and you get the little like sample size.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Or you literally get the picture.
or the picture of the rug. Yeah.
Yeah, Christian
So
Ninja's over here sending you a picture. He printed out on his printer.
You guys are making me mad now. The world's stupid.
You're just figuring that out?
No, it's getting more stupid. The older I get, the stupider the world's getting.
It's more obvious. I don't think it's gotten more stupid or stupider. It's just becoming more obvious.
I've experienced more stupid in my life, and I have a greater collection of it now. Yeah, that's probably true.
Yeah. That's why old men are like, get off my lawn, because they know what can happen. Yeah, they know what can happen. Listen, there's a bunch of young kids on my yard. I know what they're up to.
The only thing not stupid is my gun and my dog, okay?
Hey, I found that app, by the way. I'm trying to log in. I'm not sure.
Are we gonna get like a live millionaire made right now? Wouldn't that be something?
Right? That'd be amazing.
That'd be a clip. And you go, it's worth $75,000.
It's asking me to log in. I have no clue.
It's gonna ask you for $2.99 to get your password back.
It says, forgot your password? Yeah, what's your username? I don't know.
What would little Zach have called himself back in the day?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Something master something, or what was a really good what were you into back then, man? Little Zachy, little Zachy who's collecting the hockey cards. What were you mostly into? Other than hockey cards?
Baseball.
Baseball. So it probably has something to do with who's your favorite player?
It's
if it
baseball.
wasn't Roberto Alomar? It was Roberto Alomar.
No, it was Omar Vizquel.
Omar Vizquel?
Omar Vizquel, right. Yeah. He was awesome. He was my favorite of all time.
Is it I Heart Omar? Is that your username?
Are we trying to figure this out as we go? You're trying to log into my account to take my money?
I'm just saying.
Is that what's happening here?
Loves _ Omar.
Do you ever see that clip where it's some late night show and they're like, yeah, so if you had a password, or no, they're like, so what's your what's your password to like your email? And they're like, oh, it's like my high school and the year I graduated and my dog's name. Oh, where'd you go to high school? Oh, I went to whatever high school. Like they would say the name of the high school. Yeah. Oh, really? And what was your dog's name? Oh, it was, Sparky, What year did you graduate? Oh, I graduated in 2008. It was like, thanks.
You put a camera in front of some people and they'll tell you anything. They just want to be there. They're just excited to be on camera and are willing to sell it all.
That's like this podcast, man.
That's
why I'm here.
Camera. Yeah. You look at how easy it is to scam older people.
I don't.
55+ community, like people are emailing just saying, hey, you've been locked out. Tell me what your password is, and I'll log you back in.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, that's a great idea. Give me my password.
There are these dudes on YouTube, like it's a whole underground of YouTube, and actually one of the big science guys on there did it too. And what they do is they go and they track down these scams in India or these scams all over the world. Mark Rober just did that, but there's like other guys that do it, and like they really mess with these dudes. I remember watching one guy. He sounds like Liam Neeson. It's like listening to him is great because it sounds like the guy from Taken is doing bad things to someone who's doing bad. So it's great. But anyway, so he's there and he's like, it's funny because all the videos kind of go the same where it's like, I found out their information and I'm looking through their stuff. And then he goes like, I'm in. So he's in like their personal computer or he's in whatever. And he's searching through and he finds like a picture of their family or he finds like their address. And he like, at some point he turns it, he's like, okay, here's a picture of your family and here's a screenshot of your house and I've got your information now. And just immediately this guy who was all, hyped about taking this old person's money is all like, please don't do that. I'm going to get, and I'm like, yeah, get him. Eat his children.
Eat his children. Yeah. There's a guy on Twitch that does that. Kit Boga. You guys ever watch him? He calls scammers and stuff, talks to all of them. It's hilarious.
Like live?
Live. Yeah. Live. Yeah. I'll put it.
That sounds dangerous. Jeepers.
Yeah. Well, he's actually like, he does really well with like covering it up with like he does. I don't know. He's got like a separate computer that he does stuff on. He knows a bunch of coding.
He'd have to.
He's able. Yeah. Oh yeah. He's real good at what he does. I mean, he gets like 10K viewers on a stream, It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. And actually, there's scammers that'll call him and he'll start talking to him or whatever, and something will happen. And then they're like, wait a minute. And then suddenly they're like, oh, we see you. We're talking to you. We're talking to you. Like they pull up his stream. He's known.
Exactly.
He's
right?
known by scammers, actually. Yeah, but it's actually really great. Yeah, like there's some days, like one day I was watching, and he's like, today, our plan is to have one of these scammers actually send us a video of him dancing just so that we would give him money. And so what he does is he knows coding and stuff. So what he's able to do is on his computer set up a false bank account, false numbers, and able to like use like all this kind of stuff. And it's really crazy how he does it.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, he's really good at what he does, but he's also known in the in the scammer world. So
one of the things when I was a kid, when I say kid, I mean like 19 years old, and I was living in dorm for the second year. I'd actually flunked out the first year, and so I went to a different school the second year. So this is technically first year, second year, and I was one of the few computer guys that was actually the new stuff, especially back then, right? Like the people who could actually do network, and people could actually go on to ICQ, and people who could use all these like programs nobody's ever heard of anymore. And so we'd go on there, and we go into Merc, or we go onto some forum, and we'd go to, and this was our evening, the nerds evening. We'd go to some like really sketchy forum, like where we're looking for people who are doing the bad stuff. It's like, and we'd be like, hey, we've got the child porn. Do you want any? And somebody would be like, yeah, I would love some. And okay, then we had like, and because it was so easy back then, there was absolutely no internet security. We had a program that literally said, you click to hack, click to like take over computer, click to reboot, click to open their CD-ROM, click here to go and see all their file systems. And so we would do the same thing. It would be all the time. We'd go in and we'd look at their file system, we'd delete their system files, open and close their CD-ROM a few times, reboot their computer, and walk away. Like that was just like Tuesday for us. It was.
I did that at school. I used to do that in
anymore.
high school. Well, I did that with the computers on the network in high school. And so like you go to you just type in the codes and figure out whose computer is whose, and then you start messing with it and moving stuff around, and then next day you've got a substitute, or you've got, hey, we're having a movie today because I can't seem to get my computer to work. Yes. That was pretty great.
Yeah. I was called out of math class more than once to go fix the library computer.
Oh, nice. Yeah, see, that's where I would just always go to the library. I'd sit over in the corner where they couldn't really tell what I was doing. I was on other computers all throughout the system.
We only had one computer.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I was trying to figure out what Zach was talking about.
We had one computer, man.
In your classrooms.
So because it was in the library, and you had to go sit there, and it was in its own little room, and it was locked down, and all the rest of that stuff.
Yeah,
and back then it was DOS, so DOS is all just command line stuff. And if you memorized any of it, you just had full access to everything. And so we'd go on there, and we use basic programs, or we'd like change the batch file to just do stupid stuff. And so at least once a month, it was Aldesh, to the library. It was never come to the office. It was go to the library. Don't even come to the office. Just go fix it. And I'm like, they found it.
Zach, are you old enough to have ever received handwritten report cards?
Yeah. Elementary school and a couple years in middle school, I would say.
Okay.
Yeah.
Having the words, he has great potential if he'd only apply himself in pen doesn't count. He means the letters.
Yeah, the actual letters, yeah.
No, yeah.
English,
yeah, actual letters. They always wrote F's or U's for unsuccessful or whatever it was
just
called.
You?
Like,
you got a U?
Well, there was like an S or a U. Like, no, that's like, it was weird. It was like, what was that? There were certain classes where it was like S or U. It was like satisfactory or unsatisfactory. It was like always got a U. Unsatisfactory. It was like either you failed or passed. Like, oh.
That's what they've tried to do for the participation generation.
Yeah.
Give them S's and U's and no grades.
That's ridiculous.
I was
either pass or fail means I either have a 4.0 GPA or have a 0 GPA.
There you go. Yeah, exactly.
Which that doesn't make sense to me.
So I was a gifted youngster when I was growing up, and so I skipped grades and whatnot. And so they would
I skipped grades too.
I always got he'd have great potential if he'd only apply himself, right? Except for my parents, they all they wanted was 65. They said flat out, we don't need you to get A's. We just pass the class, okay?
Yeah,
Passing grade was 65. I would actually, and this happened right up till high school, I would do 65% of the test. And then I would hand the rest in blank and be done. And it would frustrate the teachers so much. I'd get phone calls at home. He won't finish. Yes, they're all right. And he won't finish. If he'd finished the test, he'd have an A, but he won't. He's lazy. Can you please talk to your son? And they're like, did he pass? Yes. Click.
What you calling me for?
Exactly. Done. End of conversation.
That's great.
Thanks, Mom.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I haven't.
Is the standard. I love it.
Mm-hmm. 70 is what it was in my high school.
I went to the world's worst high school.
Don't go to prison.
It's just if nobody's pregnant and you didn't go to prison, you pass.
Yeah, I went to the same high school as guys like Lil Wayne. If you could stay out of prison, it was a win.
Oh man,
that's brutal. Really?
That's brutal.
You got some stories. I want to hear some stories from school. In the hood.
You probably don't, but I
do. I want to hear at least one. Just clean one up, man. Like, did Michelle Pfeiffer teach at your school or not? Was Coolio there singing songs in the back talking about Gangster's Paradise? I need to know.
There you go. Let's go with that one. Coolio. So 97, 98, he came out with the only song that he's known for, and I can't remember the name of it. Is it Gangster's Paradise?
Gangster's Paradise.
Yes, yeah. Gangster's Paradise. Yeah. I know every word to the parody Amish Paradise.
Yeah, everybody does. Exactly.
Wait, there's a parody?
Yeah, no, it's not a parody. It's better version. Exactly.
I thought Gangster Paradise was...
It's got a music video.
But, all right, I'm going to have to watch it later. But, so... Coolio's kind of, he's kind of hitting the mid-90s, starts to teeter off at like 98, 99 as he, sells the follow-up Gangster's Paradise. So we had this Spanish teacher that was probably the Michelle Pfeiffer of New Orleans. Everyone thought she was attractive. Every teenage boy was, hoping that was going to be his entry into manhood. And so she ends up coming to school. She's traveled to Spain or somewhere. She comes back and she's got this picture. Now imagine when I say picture, we're talking about like an actual picture, right? Like she went and got it developed and everything. Yes.
Polaroid.
And it's her and Coolio.
Shut up, really?
Yes.
Dude, all right.
She's like, she's got like this like old school instant camera when they were still like the size of a brick. And she went
out the front. Yeah.
Well, not the ones that came out the front, not quite the Polaroids. The ones you actually went and took the whole camera to get developed.
Ghetto Polaroid.
Yes. Exactly. No
Done in 59 minutes.
No one where I was growing up had the Polaroids. But anyway, so so she comes and she's got this picture of Coolio, and of course, this is a high school that is 99% African American, super stoked about Coolio, and they're like, oh, well, are you on a date? Is he your boyfriend? Are you getting married? And she's like, no, I told him no. They're like, what? And everyone's losing it. And you're talking about like there are people, there are probably half a dozen people in this classroom who go on to be fairly successful music artists. And everyone just was begging for some way to contact Coolio, have him come. So fast forward a few weeks, Coolio shows up to the high school to come and try to take her out. And
what?
Again, was told no.
Coolio.
Yep, he was doing a concert in New Orleans, and he wanted to come say hi. And so he remembered what high school she taught at. So he shows up, and he like the whole high school is flipping out.
No joke. So
yeah,
I mean, your Spanish teacher was next level hot.
Yeah.
Standard teacher hot. You were talking like okay, all right.
Well, like Michelle Pfeiffer and she was considered to be that at that time. So kind of that next level, like everybody's got their eyes on her. Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome.
At least the Coolio.
Just like who walks in. Yeah.
That's a good story. See, I knew there was a good story in there somewhere.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you said Coolio, all I could think of were the violence, the drugs, like all the terrible stuff.
Most people don't have a Coolio story. I mean, I'm glad you do.
Yeah. I'm sitting here going through all the Little Wayne lyrics, all the things that inspired his songs. That's the first things that I thought of.
That's great.
Yeah, because most of the original Cash Money, him, Juvenile, all of them are from those same neighborhoods. So you have a lot of those music artists. Some hit it bigger than others that come from the inner city of New Orleans.
I mean, New Orleans is music, man. Like so much music
true.
came out of New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's also a lot of pain and hurt, and that's where a lot of music comes from as well.
That's it, right? Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was the most violent city until 10 years ago,
and massively multicultural, right? Like just so much, like just a mixing pot of global culture.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't necessarily see that if you're in New Orleans, but
the history, like if you go yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like to visit, like there's so much there. I mean, most people don't know unless you spend some time in New Orleans or you're a history buff, don't realize that we had a vice president that sold off an entry point in New Orleans to the French and escaped without being held for treason.
That's a fun story.
Yeah, I believe his name's Aaron Burke, Vice President Aaron Burke.
Did he know Coolio too?
I was going to say something there, but I'm going to leave that one alone. He was
Coolio helped
well
him.
before
Yeah.
Coolio. He was well before Coolio. But it's interesting, like I mean, I don't know how much either of you follow Lil Wayne, and I haven't listened to mainstream music in secular music in a decade. But
as a Baptist pastor, it's required listening.
Yeah.
But Lil Wayne is a when you listen to him speak, he's a pretty humble guy. And he's a guy that was dealing, drugs at 8, 9, 10 years old, grew up in abusive homes, was, had a heck of a childhood, and has turned it around to mostly be self-accountable, to be successful, to be someone that is driven and not necessarily taking that life for granted.
Yeah, I've seen interviews with him before, and it's different than the way he's portrayed in other avenues of entertainment and stuff. It's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool though. Yeah.
I mean,
the one that mystifies me. I was gonna say the one that mystifies me is I don't know what he's called anymore. Puff. They used to be called Puff Daddy or whatever he is now.
Yeah.
Like the myriad personalities and connections and what is he into and what is he all about and what are his boundaries and borders, and because the idea of what is cool, he does not care. He does not care, like trying to hold up reputation or whatever, because he seems to be willing to try anything, like literally anything.
Who is this? P. Diddy?
P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, Sean Combs. Like you said, myriad of names. He's the original Jay-Z, right? Like Jay-Z's now part of NFL and a bunch of other things. But Sean Combs is the original. And I mean, was it Tupac that he had killed?
Really?
Or was it Biggie? I don't know. He was associated with one and had the other killed. And it's pretty public knowledge that he had participated in it. They've just never been able to close the case. But he's a guy that's had a heavy hand and a lot of influence for 3 decades now.
Well, but the thing is, as an outsider, as someone like I don't follow rap, I don't follow hip hop or whatever. But as an outsider, what I see is a dude that's in like random weird commercials, hanging out with Martha Stewart, doing a weird dance during the Super Bowl. He's almost a joke unto himself or a meme unto himself. And the idea of taking him seriously or seeing him as a serious I guess, artists or like hardcore, like I guess rap, sort of like the tough guy rap. It would never enter my mind.
I think
Wait,
Snoop Dogg's the other one.
Yeah. I was gonna say, are
Yeah,
you talking about Snoop Dogg?
Am I? I don't know.
When you said Martha Stewart in Super Bowl.
Is that
Yeah.
who I'm talking about? Then him. Yeah, that.
Maybe.
Okay. Like I said, I don't follow.
He has a skin in Call of Duty right now.
That's
Yeah,
the
so-
most
okay.
most overrated music artist in music history.
Well, then I take everything I said back, and I replace it with that guy.
But still a guy with a ton of influence.
Yeah, true.
He's a guy who has a history of claiming he is heavily tied to certain gangs, and I mean he's made. I mean he was made in the rap scene from that, similar to Italian mobs. He was made through that call in the early '90s of, hey, this is the gang I represent, and it's brought him to hanging out with Martha Stewart and dancing at the Super Bowl.
He's also a part of FaZe Clan now.
Is he really?
Yeah. Look it up, man.
Yeah. I don't follow any secular artists, Carolyn. So
no, but I follow
new,
video games. So.
Yeah, if it says Snoop Dogg, I just pass.
So then let me ask you about Eminem then. Like, because was he gang affiliation, the same sort of come up as far, like I never watched 8 Mile, so I have no idea. But the like, was he sort of similar in how he came about?
No,
or was he?
So his is totally different. So Dr. Dre has a similar come up as Snoop Dogg. So Dr. Dre had some gang affiliations and some other things that were involved in his come up. Dr. Dre, I don't know that Dr. Dre ever enjoyed music, and I don't know if this has ever been like publicly shared or anything, but he never seemed to enjoy music from the artist standpoint as much as the production standpoint.
Yeah.
So he decides he wants to be this producer, and he wants to, make beats, and he wants to create superstars. And Eminem came to his attention, and Dr. Dre basically adopted Eminem in his early 20s and made Eminem who he is today. Eminem was probably one of the first, and I'm trying to think about this, but I can't think of too many others. One of the first rappers to hit as big as he did without gang affiliations.
So I wonder if that was like a pivoting point, because I think your story reminds me of Usher and Justin Bieber, right? This idea of some guy that's established and came up from an older school, finding some dude that's talented and being like, we're going to circumvent the more yucky stuff, and we're going to go straight to, you're talented and let's get you involved, right? Would you say then that the yucky part, as in like the gang stuff and all the sort of the undercurrent of where rap really came from, the hard stuff, was required to build the hip hop scene, or to build the rap scene into what it is today, the more commercialized? Or would you say that it was a reaction to the existing already commercialization, and it was its own version of something? Like, how, I guess, because I don't really understand, what was it different? Was it its own product, or was it completely unnecessary and just part of the scene?
I think when you think about rap music, I think you really have to think about just start with music in general, right? Music is derived from emotion, and when you've got a music, a genre such as rap that is being formed, and there were other influences that came into the formation of rap, but when you start to look as rap started to really build its name as a true genre of music and not just a fly-by-the-night genre, there was a lot of pain in the African American community, in the minority communities, of drugs going through the communities, gangs in the communities. You look at NWA and F the Police. That was a hit song, and that was genuine emotion. That was a Rodney King era situation, and So that music was being created from the heart of pain, from the heart of feeling hopeless. And so as that transpired, gangs similar to mobs, you know, and Western gangs and all the other, you know, violent groups throughout history, they thrive off people's hopelessness. And so they did this, it was the same thing. Rap music's connected in the emotion of hopelessness with the actual living hopelessness. And that met where gangs had taken over. And, you know, they were, cartels were bringing the drugs in, gangs were selling it. And therefore, all of that just through the 80s and 90s was connecting at such a high peak that rap music to connect to people who were in those communities had to have some, you know, speaking of it.
Right.
And then the people who could speak best of it are the people who are in it, or the people who were involved in the gangs, or the
Right.
people who were former gang members. And so I think it was like that perfect storm of where American culture was at the time, where the African American community, where the impoverished inner city communities, the minority communities all kind of met at that moment. And then I think there was some transformation as you get into an Eminem who kind of transformed and brought this, for lack of a better word, kind of white trash vibe to what was perceived as ghetto or inner city, and brought this trailer park vibe to it. And, you know, would kind of open some doors for a different style of music, a more, probably in a lot of ways, a more hate-filled music.
Because they were merely seeking to emulate the emotion as opposed to actually being through the situations themselves. They were like, okay, I hear this thing and I'm going to try to reproduce it using, you know, whatever artificial means that I can find within me, which means they amplified it.
Yeah, I think they amplified it, but I think there was a lot of like truly living it. I don't think it was necessary. There's some guys that mimicked it, like I think, you know, Jay-Z, in my opinion, doesn't have the story he necessarily claims to have, but Lil Wayne lived it.
Hmm.
Lil Wayne lived the most of the lifestyle he's rapped about. You look at Ludacris on the other side of the spectrum. Ludacris is a guy who's never rapped about being arrested. He's never rapped about guns and things like that, and he's openly said like that's never been my life.
Right.
That's never been my life. Then you look at Ti, who has rapped about those things and has been federally prosecuted for those things. So I think there are some guys, and I think those are starting to be phased out. I think, to my understanding, the current rap scene, it's a lot of just talk and emulating. But
that was going to be the next question. Like I listen to, I'm old, so I listen to yacht rock and mellow rock, and a lot of the, like, that's classic rock, but like chill, and a lot of that is essentially Vietnam songs, anti-war, you know, peace, love, and harmony song. That's where it comes from. Even the chillest stuff and the rock stuff, whatever. Rock, generally speaking, comes from a place of rejection of society and societal commentary. But this stuff is really intense subject, but set to really chill music. You know what I mean? But it came from a place of honesty, where, and then you're talking about how 80s, 90s, you've got, you know, rap coming from a place of honesty. Now we've got a situation here in around the world where you've got, you know, rumors of war. We've got insane corporatization. We've got polarization politically that, like, almost like we've never seen before, in at least in the United States. Do you think that that the environment now could produce authentic music? Because there's there's so much, I'll use the term again, corporatization of music, and so much fear of fear of, you know, it's always the same thing over and over and over and over and over, just replicated until someone creative steps up and goes, it's a little different, and then everybody goes and follows that like a bunch of lemmings. But do you think that's done now? The honesty, that really raw, emotional, life-changing, genre breaking, new genre creating music, is that impossible now?
I don't think that. I think you're onto something, and I don't think that it's a new genre of music, but I think that rap music is now back where it was, like Chris, what you had explained, where it's that emotional attachment to it. And most of what I hear in secular right now, to me, is trash. Based on what I listened to growing up, based on what I've listened to the last decade, based on what I'm listening to now, The popular music, in my opinion, is trash. The beats are so simple, easy to reproduce.
He said eating a Big Mac from McDonald's, right?
True.
That's
With
like,
bacon.
it's the same product. It's the same product.
And we also take for granted our age, right? So we have a standard that we don't change our standard, and as things change, we perceive things to be different. But when you look at rap music specifically, and here's I think the beauty of rap music. Two growing genres of rap music currently are what is called country rap or hip hop,
Hip hop.
which is
I like that.
I never heard that.
which is a growing one, and that's a that's
is that like Old Town Road? Is Old Town Road hip hop, or is that
no?
Yeah, it was.
No, it's not. No.
Oh, come on.
What about one of the 78 remixes? Is one of them?
First and foremost, 99% of country hip hop, country rap is white country guys, and it's like, I don't know if you get into the political scene, Tom McDonald is kind of a portion of that. There are a lot of them who are currently rapping about politics and a lot of pro-Trump music. And then you've got
in the music, like legit, in the same way that you'd have like old school 70s, the guys that I'm listening to that are literally calling out presidents, calling out the government, calling out the commies, calling out the war, like just legit 100%. Like sticking it, it's doing the same thing right now.
100%. Yeah, it's less chill. Like what you were talking about, at least what I perceive you were talking about, kind of had that Bob Marley feel, right? Like where Bob Marley called things out, but it was such a chill stoner vibe, right?
Yeah.
And these guys are more intense. It's more rap music. It's more in your face. It's more like there's a lyric. I'm gonna butcher the lyric, but it's basically, and it's all over TikTok and everywhere else right now with the abortion debate. But Tom McDonald says something to the extent of, it's okay for a mom to kill her baby, but a man that doesn't pay for child support is a deadbeat. And he goes into a lot of really hot topics from mostly kind of, he says he's not of a side, but he's more of a right side thinker. And when I say
that's
right
more
side,
dangerous today. Like I would think because of social media, because of immediacy of the message getting out there and being twisted, like and the Twitterati going insane. Like it's not like it was back when things had to go through. Rolling Stones magazine had to kind of go through the underground before and then get filtered through there. It's instant right now, so that's dangerous.
100%. There is so much music, and here to get biblical, because we haven't really gotten biblical, but to get biblical, when you look at the importance of music in the Bible, right? The walls of Jericho, right? You have all these importance of David. Psalms, you look at all this importance of music. Then you fast forward now to psychology and the proven impacts and effects of music, right? Music can drastically impact how you view the world. Now you immediately can get a song for any emotion tied to any conspiracy, any emotion tied to any hate, like if you want to find a white supremacy playlist, it exists. If you want to find a black supremacy playlist, it exists. If you want to find a pro-Russia playlist, it exists. You can go, to the point that if this is kind of been like militarized of some sort, but you've got like ISIS who have people sitting in rooms feeding out messages, the Twitter and other places. If they could find a couple American looking and sounding artists to convince you that ISIS is the good guys, you could have a whole album that tells you that ISIS is the good guys.
Is what you're saying that they've actually it's flip flop? Because what it was before is you'd have talented artists or heartfelt artists or someone that has say a godly gift or is in touch with something that is bigger than themselves, would create a piece of music that would move people. So what I hear you saying now, it's exactly the opposite, where the people seek out the emotion that they want to be moved towards, right? Instead of being well, has it
psychologically and statistically, it's always been that way. It's been that the difference is that we were less deep with our emotions in the 80s, the 70s, the 60s, and every decade prior, there was less of an emotional spectrum, right?
You had,
if
because
you
you
were
had
angry,
happy, sad, angry, as opposed to
yes.
now you're like specific, like you said, white supremacy, black supremacy, this, that, whatever, a specific thing you can find whole.
And there are so many specific spectrums of hate now, right? And
yeah,
things.
What a weird phrase. Yeah, I mean, you're totally right though. Like just so many different of the rainbow of hate. There's so many things to choose from. It's like I'd never really thought about that, but if you really want to hate something and that is what you want to be fueled by, you can go shopping for it now. Yeah, that gets.
I can find and send you an entire playlist that tells you should hate meat and anyone who eats meat. 100%. I mean, something as silly as that. I'm pretty sure I could find you a playlist about the best cereal. There are currently playlists and emotions for all kinds of things that we didn't attach emotions to. We never attached emotions to cereal. We never attached emotions to dinner. We didn't attach emotions to steak versus plant-based.
At least we didn't articulate it.
Well, I think we were somewhat simpler because the messages and news didn't share the same way, right? So we didn't necessarily know the harm of meat, or most people were ignorant to the fact of the brutalness, and maybe it was intentionally ignorant, but they were ignorant to the fact of how brutal the meat market is, how abused the cows are, how abused the pigs are. And now you really can't escape it. You have to be very intentional about being ignorant now to those things.
Yep.
And so now, because we have that spectrum of emotions tied to so many things greater, right? Like if you're born in the 70s or 80s, SeaWorld was a place of fun. Now SeaWorld is a place where animals are abused and massacred and just treated terribly. And it's a villain. Versus when we were kids, it was the Disney World, right? It was no different than Disney World.
It occurs to me that what you're talking about, especially when it comes to being able to go pick your hate and the amount of amplification that there is out there about whatever you want, that I'm not the first person to ever say this, but there is so much out there and so much emotion and so much news and so much reaction and so much intensity out there that one of the standard human reactions is to just turn it off. And either not feel anything through drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever, or just live in your own little ignorant bubble and just say I do not care about any of that stuff. I just can't handle it. And I guess
levels of suicide.
Well, exactly. I think the other thing that sort of, to your point, is or just channel it. Right, just like it, like the world is insane. Like they're doing horrible things to children. The divorce is high. Politics is insane. Global economy is insane. It's everything is crazy. I feel it, but I have nowhere to put it. If I just channel it into hating whatever, you end up with the incel that will get into a van and drive into a crowd. Right, because the entire world of pain that they can't process, they can focus onto one singular group. Am I wrong? Am I crazy?
So I'll share this, and I'm not intending to brag. I just want to give reference for where this comes from. So I have 2 masters in psychology-related fields, a bachelor's and a minor in psychology, and then both of my masters have to do with leadership psychology and business psychology. So a little bit but you have to do a lot of psychology stuff. You have to get credits for counseling and all of this. So when you look at the U.S. versus the rest of the world, so as Americans, we like to say, and it's very pointed. I don't know if it's the same in Canada, but in the U.S., it's very much the world. The world's messed up. The world needs Jesus. The world needs this. The world needs that. When in fact, the U.S. is the #1 country for suicide. The next 27 nations are third world. It's the only first world in 27, 28 nations. It's the #1 place for clinical depression, bipolar, any of those. And again, it's in the 30s before you get to the first non-third world nation. If you count China. China's the only one that you can argue is first world. But in how it treats people, it's definitely not first world, right? So you, as you go through that list, it's the only one. So why? So Turkey, Australia, psychologists from across the world have tried to tell us this several times. Your media, your voices tell you how to feel. Whether you realize it or not, they tell you how to feel. So in 2021, Australia psychologists and psychologists of other nations who have participated with us in the war in Afghanistan said, hey, one, just by the way, our soldiers haven't committed suicide to the same rate. Two, FYI, you're going to see an increase in suicide on the exit of Afghanistan. And everyone's like, what? Like, oh, well, that doesn't make sense. And
you mean among soldiers, you mean?
Yes, yeah, sorry,
Okay.
among right. Soldiers, yeah. And the exit of the U.S. military in Afghanistan. Now, immediately people pointed fingers at the U.S. president, said, oh, this was this and this was that. When in fact, what happened was that the U.S. Army, the U.S. Marines, the VAs, the Veterans Administration sent out these messages of, this is probably going to make you want to commit suicide. So seek help. And what psychologists in other worlds have said is that the U.S. does a phenomenal job of telling you how upset and dangerous you should feel towards yourself based on actions. So, hey, you should hate yourself because this. Hey, you should hate everybody because of this. Hey, no one can understand you. And they've seen it and they talk about victimization, right? Like the U.S. victimizes the military, so then the military victimizes itself and goes, yeah, you're right, I am a victim and I'm terrible. And I'm saying this as a veteran myself, right? Is they're saying, hey, this is the situation. I'm victimizing. I'm victimized. The world hates me because the media has told me that's the truth.
Because you're an American soldier.
Because you're an American soldier. Yeah. And then as you kind of fast forward, whether that's true or not, right? Whether it's true or not, that's what's preached. And it's the same thing in the LGBTQ community. In most nations, that community does not have the high suicide it has in the U.S. The reason is that community is told it's hated. It's told that it's victimized. It's told you're a victim. The U.S. hates you. The U.S. doesn't want you to have rights. The U.S. doesn't want you to live. The U.S. doesn't want you to succeed. And therefore, that influence leads to suicide. And so when you look, there's probably not a group in the U.S. right now that isn't specifically targeted to be told you're a victim of something. So yeah, you're gonna have high suicide. Yeah, you're gonna have high consequences of those beliefs. Whereas the rest of the world, for the most part, with some exceptions, but most first world countries are not preaching victimization.
Well, okay, so
Australia thrives without it.
I'll ask the dumb question because I'm dumb. What is the opposite of victimization?
I would say thriving. You control your destination. You control what your world looks like. And we're taking this out of the Christianity world, right?
Well, that's because my question is it hope? Is the opposite of victimization the fact that there is hope? The deck isn't stacked against you. The world isn't against you. In fact, you have agency and you have community and there is opportunity and you have hope. Like as in so is it simply that worldview switch and change?
Absolutely.
Because I live in Canada. I can't speak for all Canadians, but I can say that because of the influence of the US and because you're all so close, we watch all your TV, we watch all your news, we're swept up. We can't help but be swept up into it. And I would say that I think we are as affected by that polarization or whatever you want to call it, by that victimization mindset for sure. And within the more liberal culture, and if you look at Europe or you look at Britain, you look at Canada, the segmentation of society into whatever your felt need group is or whatever your societal niche is certainly there, because you have to check 750 boxes to get to exactly who you are and what minority you are, and the championing of your individuality, so much so that you're almost to the point where you can't have a community, or you're so limited because you're say you're LGBTQ, but that's too big. You're only gay, but you're not just gay, you're gay with ADD, and you're not just gay with ADD, you're gay with ADD who's also Métis, but you're not only gay and ADD with Métis, but you're also were raised in the inner city, but also not only that, but you're raised in this economic bracket, and therefore this is the only group that understands you, right?
Yeah,
Go find them.
But even in the LGBTQ community, they have how many different sections of that I have no clue. But the things I hear, I'm like, I have no idea. I mean, before it was just gay, then it was gay, lesbian. Okay, then it's like there's just 85 million different things that they all identify there, and then that's how they all feel alone.
But who has the power to create that? I think that's the whole thing. Canada has half of the suicide of the U.S. per 100,000 people. So per capita, nothing to do with the overall population. They have half the suicide. Canada statistically has less impact from the media telling people how to feel than the U.S. Not saying it's not there, but than the U.S. Most of, to your point, statistically, psychologically, that comes for Canada is from the U.S. It's Canadians consuming American portrayed events, right?
So
if you look at television shows,
with the secondhand smoke of politics.
Yeah, well, and watch Canadian, like, and I'm saying this to you, but because you probably do, but for Zach, right? Like, go and watch Canadian television. Totally different.
That's true.
Like, so, it's so much different.
I grew up in Edmonton, and it's I watched Edmonton news, I watched Alberta news, like whatever. I went to Cleveland. I lived there for 2 years. I remember we came down there. We opened up the house. We came, sat down. There was no furniture. Our truck hadn't arrived yet. All that was there was a TV. We turned on the TV, and we saw Action 17 News. And it blew all of our hair back, because it was this person's this neighborhood is dangerous, and this neighborhood is trying to kill you, and the weather's going to destroy you. And it's just like super ultra intense. And the story that I remember, it fused into my brain, is the hot dog vendors downtown, are they trying to kill you with all their horrible, like, bacteria ridden hot dogs? We've done a test. And for an hour of news, they didn't leave Cleveland.
Yes.
Right. That kind of blew my mind. Not only was it hyper intense and I'm like, maybe we should move. We've been here a day. Maybe we should go home. This is terrifying. Right. But they didn't leave Cleveland, let alone leave the county. You know what I mean? Whereas, and then let me finish the story. So we came home. We came home to Canada for our visit, sat down, we're watching the news with my parents, and it was, news, whatever. And then, international news. They ended the first day I was there. They ended the segment, the whole thing with a segment about newborn kittens. They came in like, and just to end off, we have a picture of kittens, and we just want to show you these kittens because that's how we want to end the news. Have a great night, everybody. And I'm like, I want to come back to Canada.
And yeah, so for me, talking about Cleveland news specifically, and you said they never left Cleveland. That's true. I've grown up with Cleveland news as my local news. They never left Cleveland. They said, Northeast Ohio, and it was Cleveland news. They never left Cleveland because there was so much junk happening in Cleveland that
much.
Yeah. So, where I lived was an hour and a half away, and like you had to have more than 2 people die for them to come to the area.
I lived in Parma, right? Parma, Ohio, and it was Catat. Like you all only saw city all the way to Cleveland, but it was far enough away that I don't think they ever talked about Parma for the entire year I was there, even though we were there was no separation between us. Yeah. Or maybe we just nothing ever happened. Maybe.
I'll give you a very recent, if you watch conservative news, like Fox News, and I'm gonna just real quick run through 28 cities, and then I'll get to my point. But these are cities that I'll explain their importance in a second. St. Louis, Baltimore, Birmingham, Alabama, Detroit, Dayton, Ohio, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, New Orleans, Kansas City, Memphis, Cleveland, Richmond, Virginia, Miami Gardens, Washington, D.C., North Charleston, Peoria, Illinois, Philadelphia, Columbia, South Carolina, San Bernardino, California, Cincinnati, Columbus, Georgia, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, Atlanta, Georgia, Indianapolis, Indiana, Little Rock, Arkansas, Shreveport, Louisiana, Montgomery, Alabama, Buffalo, New York. Those are 27 cities that were all had higher violence than Chicago, Illinois. But if you watch the news, Chicago is the most violent place in the U.S.
Interesting.
Statistically, that's not true.
Yep.
It's not even close to true. Yeah, maybe they have 17 shot over a weekend. Somewhere else, there's 52 shot in a weekend.
How far down the line was Detroit? Because when I think quintessentially dangerous location that I don't want to go on vacation, my first thought is New York, and my second thought is Detroit.
Detroit and New Orleans have both done a fairly good job of trying to pull themselves out of it. Detroit's fourth. New Orleans was number one for 30-something years, the most violent city in the country. Yeah. And then Detroit took it over for about 6 to 8 years. And, now St. Louis has had it for the last 3 years.
It's because people go to Chicago. So they have to scare the people that go to Chicago.
Well, it's scare, but it's also this is for Zach. What is Chicago's importance? Why would conservatives pick on Chicago?
Pizza, Blackhawks.
That's
only east. That's only east of Chicago.
Okay.
But there's a very clear anti-conservative answer.
Is it political?
Yes.
It has to be political. It's left in nature, I'm guessing. I don't.
Barack Obama.
That's where he's
Chicago.
from.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now all of a sudden Chicago.
I thought he came from. Never mind.
Hawaii. That's what you're going to say, right?
Yeah, I was going to say Kenya. Show me the birth certificate. Come on.
But that's the entire thing, right? Is there's some play there. Why Chicago? It's for example California. Everyone picks on California being this liberal state. California is not by far not the most liberal state. New York has it beat by 10, but people don't necessarily want you to know that about New York.
But California. But California puts themselves out there a little bit sometimes too to get picked on. You know what I mean?
Because they got Hollywood. They're literally the ones on TV.
That's true.
And the media picks it up. But what has California put itself out there on? Did it put itself out there on first? You won't find anything. They didn't give checks to illegal immigrants first. They didn't if you believe it's bad, they didn't legalize gay marriage first. They didn't legalize marijuana first. They didn't go to anti-incarceration first. They didn't go to releasing violent criminals first. They have never done anything first. You know who has? The state of New York. They're first in almost everything. They're the first state to do almost all of those things.
Interesting.
So why don't they pick on? Why is New York not picked on then?
That's a great question. But why is Chicago picked on? There's a narrative deeper than we pay attention.
Oh yeah.
I think to me, New York is, and this is completely has no basis. But here's an answer for you. But I think it's because you're right off New York. New York is a universe unto itself. Right? It's its own thing. It's its own island. It's its own country. It's its own mindset. It's that's where the superheroes go. It's a completely different world. And then there's everywhere else. So I would think that if you said, this was happening in New York, people would be like, yeah, okay, whatever. Has no impact because it's basically a different country. The way that we treat Quebec.
But same thing. I mean, California's almost treated as a different country. But even then, Oregon's second. Statistically, Oregon and Washington are more likely to pass something before California does. It's the same thing with gun laws, right? Like right now, you're seeing all of this stuff about states trying to go to constitutional carry, and you got a couple states getting hit really hard. There's one state that's had constitutional carry for decades, Arizona. No one's talking about that. It's had constitutional carry for decades. You don't have to have a permit. It means you don't have to have a permit to open carry, to concealed carry.
Oh, really?
It sounds if you're a gun person, it may sound like a great idea, but it's from a law enforcement perspective, it can be
that wouldn't fly in Canada. We need a license to buy wood. Like you need a license for everything up here. You want to go to get ice cream at the store, they ask for your license.
You're in Canada. Cut it down yourself.
Yeah, no, we're not allowed. It's all owned by the Queen. She owns it all. We'll get shot.
That's true.
But and you go back, like you said, the Queen, so it's triggered for me is that, and we talked about this.
Okay, now we're in trouble.
we talked about this maybe last episode, so I don't want to go too deep in repeating myself, but it's when you go back and you look at kind of the impact of news and all of those things, the queens and kings, not just England, but across most of Europe, kings and queens created narratives for where the direction they wanted to head. So when you look at a lot of historical facts about the Vikings, it opposes a lot of the documented facts that they claimed about.
True enough. Yeah, absolutely.
About, European kings and royalty did, and it's the same thing for Native Americans. It's the same thing statistically with slavery. When you look at the true facts versus the, let's call it, media narrative, they're completely separated things.
History is written by the victors.
Yeah, well, not just the victors. It's written by the 1% of the victors.
Yeah,
right?
It's true.
It's you don't hear about the struggle of the people on the winning side. You only hear about the victory of the 1% at the top of the winning side.
True enough. And the ones that can write, I mean, you can oppress the heck out of some a society that doesn't have the form of communication, right? That's why when people are freaking out about the loss of freedom in the United States or loss of freedom in whatever, it's the world's greatest irony that you can go onto a social media site and put, I hate the president, we're losing all of our freedom, I wish he would just die in a fire, and you can just send it out there to the world, and you're not tracked down by anybody. Nobody's going to come to your house, right? It's like you have the freedom of the press, you have the freedom of speech. They still exist, and for you to sit there and actually bellyache about how oppressed you are by declaring it to the planet, in opposition to the reigning government, it's bipolarly insane.
100%. And unfortunately, that's, again, that goes back to victimization. You self-victimize. I don't have this.
That's true.
I don't have this ability. I don't have this.
Yeah.
Right.
It's like, your script.
Yeah. I mean, we again, touched on this, I think, one of the previous episodes. But you look at the polarization of Elon Musk. You have literally seen this guy go full circle, right? So at one point, he was talking about putting chips in people, and the conservative Christian side were losing it. This guy's an antichrist. This guy's destroying the times. All of this stuff. Now that same group who villainized him is idolizing him, and it's went full circle. And in reverse, right? He was at the same time, the opposite side thought he was a hero, and now they think he's a villain. And the same story for Donald Trump, right? A pro-abortion guy, a Democrat, a guy who ran on a platform of abortion and all of these things that a lot of Christians in the U.S. claim to be against, and then it went full circle. And I think at the end of the day, if you can convince people they're victims, most people will gladly follow, yes, you're right, I'm a victim. And because you're calling it out, I've felt unheard for so long. I think you're listening to me.
Because that's
why we're so divided.
Everybody's looking for a savior. They have this inherent need for a power greater than them, that has a greater sense of communicator, greater sense of wisdom and understanding, to not only represent us, to be us to a greater power, to represent us to a greater power, to be on our side to the great power, whatever is the judge that's out there that's going to give us problems. We're drawn to try to find that, and ultimately that's supposed to be in Christ. That is, like, he is our perfect representative before the judge who has wrath against us, and he is the one who has shown us love and shown us deference, brought us before the Father and said, I choose to represent these people to you, and I'm going to in grace, take everything you've got, right? Pour it all out on me so that they can be free. And I think that desire is where people are putting their, literally into idols. I mean, that's Romans chapter 1, right?
Yep.
Like it's just worshiping people.
Yeah.
Okay, I got to say my sermon, and it's 11 o'clock, and so I'm done now. I've reached the end of my podcast, so I'm going to take off, dudes. I don't know if you have more to say, but this is the end for me. And Zach said I could leave whenever I want.
It's true.
It's true. He said. But if you're going to wrap it up and you want me to stay for a minute, that's cool. Unless you're going to sit here and to pontificate more with Chris.
I think we're going to wrap it up. Actually, is that cool?
Sounds good to me.
Cool. I kind of like keeping it around 2 hours.
Yeah.
Not too long, not too short.
Definitely too long.
Oh, but we got to talk about Jesus this time, so
that's I shoehorned him in there at the end, no problem. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
Just like all the sermons, you just do news and topics and jokes. You shoehorn him in at the end.
Yep. But you also got to call out your kids at some point. My kids did.
Yeah, that's right. Yep, yeah. And then tell everybody to get baptized. Yeah, if you're from my church. Yeah. All right, Zach, call us out, man. Do something. Finish it off. Right. Give us your big closer.
Thanks for watching.
Did you write that yourself?
Right here written down.
I had Abraham Lincoln vibes. That was incredible.
I have it written down. Yeah, thanks for watching, everybody.
Anything, man. I need closure.
A close?
Yeah, can we get a freestyle exit?
Yeah, come on, man.
No.
Well, then I'm out. Forget you guys.
Okay. All right. He's out. He just left. That's the way I was thinking about doing it. All right, see you. Peace. Boom. It's gone. Done.
He beat you to it.
He beat me to it. For real. Well, thanks, everybody, for hanging out. Have a great rest of your night. This is the From the W podcast. If you don't know where From the W comes from, listen, we're Christians. We're not fighting for the W. We're already fighting from the W. Jesus has already won. We heard the gospel tonight from XtianNinja. He told us that's the hope, man. People are looking for a place, a savior. That's Jesus. Somebody to, Amen. Again, like he said, represent us to the judge. There's already somebody doing that. It's amazing. Cool. Have a good night, Chris. See you later, man.